Hey there, and welcome. We're about to go on a little journey today, a trip into the incredible world of data. This is the place where all those messy questions we have get turned into sharp, smart answers. So let's just dive right in and see how it all works. It really all boils down to this one big question, right? It doesn't matter if you're talking business, science, or sports. How do you take a problem, or just something you're curious about, and use information to actually find a real solution? That's what this is all about.
And honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of it like a mission. We've got a goal, and to pull it off, we need to put together the perfect team with just the right skills. So let's get started by looking at the two big ways of thinking that guide this whole operation.
Right. So on any data mission, you're going to find two fundamental mindsets at play. Just think of them as our two main operatives. We've got the detective, who's always looking at what's already happened, and then we've got the inventor, who's busy creating new ways to see what might happen next. So first up is data analytics. That's our detective. The whole job here is to look into the past, to sift through all the clues, which is, the data, and find the patterns. It's exactly like a detective at a crime scene, asking what happened here. For instance, digging through attendance records to figure out why students are late. That is a classic analytics job. And the clue? Turns out it's rainy days. And then you've got data science. This is our inventor. Now, a data scientist does everything the detective does, sure, but then they go one giant step further. They use all this math and code to build brand new tools like predictive models to actually forecast the future. They're not just asking what happened, they're building a machine to tell us what will happen. So, here's the bottom line. Data analytics uses the tools we already have to understand the past. Data science is all about creating new tools to predict the future. One is looking backwards with a magnifying glass. The other is building a telescope to see what's on the horizon. And this whole journey from the past into the future, it follows a pretty clear path. It always starts with descriptive analytics, just figuring out what happened. Then you move to diagnostic, which asks why it happened. From there, you start to tiptoe into data science with predictive analytics, what will happen next. And finally, the holy grail, prescriptive analytics, which tells us what we should do about it. Each step is more powerful than the last. Okay, so now that we've got the philosophy down, it's time to meet the crew. Because here's the thing, no single person can do all of this. A successful data mission needs a whole team of specialists, and every single one has a critical role to play. Let's start assembling our experts. But wait, before we bring anyone in, we have to talk about the number one most important rule of all. Your insights are only as good as your data. I mean, if your foundational info is a mess or it's incomplete, every single conclusion you draw is going to be flawed. People estimate that bad data costs companies trillions of dollars every year. It's not just a puzzle with missing pieces, it's a total mission failure waiting to happen. And that's exactly why our first team member is so absolutely critical. Meet the data engineer, our team's builder. This is the person who literally constructs the entire foundation of the project. They build the systems, the data pipelines that collect, store, and scrub all the data, making sure that everyone else on the team has solid, reliable material to work with. Seriously, without them, the mission is over before it even starts. All right, next, we bring in our detective, the data analyst. This is our clue finder. With that beautiful, clean data from the engineer, the analyst gets to work. They use their tools to hunt for patterns, run the numbers, and really uncover the what and the why of what happened in the past. These are the folks who connect the dots that no one else can even see. Okay, so finding the clues isn't enough, right? You have to be able to communicate what you found. And that's where our business intelligence analyst, the storyteller, comes in. They are masters at taking all those complex findings and turning them into crystal clear charts, graphs, and dashboards that tell a story. They make it so everyone on the team can understand what the data is saying, like in a single glance. And here they are, our inventor, the data scientist. We call them the futurist. They take all that amazing foundational work, the clean data, the past insights, and they use it to build these sophisticated models that predict what's coming next. Using powerful stuff like machine learning, they're the ones who are actually answering that what will happen question. So let's do a quick recap of our core technical crew. The engineer builds the foundation. The analyst finds the clues in it. The BI analyst tells the story of those clues, and the scientist uses that story to predict the future. See how each role builds on the last? It creates this incredible chain of insight. And of course, a team can get even more specialized. You might bring in a machine learning engineer whose job is to take those models the scientists built and make them work in the real world. Or maybe a decision scientist who acts as the bridge between all of this data and actual business strategy. You might even have a researcher whose whole job is to make sure the team is asking the right questions to begin with. Well, listen, a technical team, no matter how brilliant they are, needs a direction. They need a clear mission objective. And that's where the leaders and partners come in. They aren't in the engine room writing code. They're on the bridge, steering the ship. So let's see who's guiding them. First up, you've got your stakeholders. Think of them as the mission guides. This is a really broad group of people. Could be anyone from senior executives to the actual people who will use the final product. They all have a stake in the project's success. Their feedback is what shapes the entire goal of the mission. Now, inside that group of stakeholders is one really key person, the project's sponsor. This is the big boss, the project's #1 champion. Their job is to make sure the mission lines up with the company's bigger goals and to provide all the high-level support and the resources that the team needs to get the job done. And finally, to keep this whole complex operation running like a well-oiled machine, you have the project manager, our organizer. This person is the operational glue holding everything together. They aren't analyzing data, but they are managing the timeline, the budget, and the workflow, making sure the entire team works together without a hitch. And this right here just brilliantly illustrates the most important point of all. Even with all these different titles and different jobs, the builders, the storytellers, the guides, the organizers, at the end of the day, they all come together to form one team, a single unit, all focused on one single mission. So let's go over our mission briefing one last time. We learned that analytics is the detective looking back, while science is the inventor building for the future. We saw how data projects are really a journey, moving from just understanding what happened to actually deciding what we should do next. And we met the whole team, from the technical experts doing the work to the leaders who guide the way. And that brings us right to the end. You've met the team, you get their skills, and you know how they all fit together. So now the only question left to ask is, what problem would you have them solve? What mission would you give them? It's something to think about.